Chapter 2. The Sisters' Love Lives. As the sun set on the small town of Maplewood, the sisters sat on the porch of their cozy home, sipping on glasses of chilled lemonade. The warm breeze brought the scent of blooming flowers, and the sound of crickets filled the air. It was a peaceful evening, but the sisters' hearts were heavy with the weight of their love lives. Sophie, the younger of the two, had been seeing a man named Michael for a few months now. She thought he was the one, but lately he had been distant and non-committal. She couldn't shake the feeling that he was seeing other women behind her back, and it was tearing her apart. Meanwhile, Olivia, the elder sister, had been single for years. She was a successful businesswoman, but her love life was a mess. She had been on countless dates, but none of them had ever made her feel anything close to love. As they sat there, lost in their own thoughts, they were interrupted by the sound of a car pulling up outside. They looked up to see a sleek black Mercedes pulling into the driveway next door. It was a car they had never seen before, and they were curious. Suddenly, a man stepped out of the car. He was tall, with broad shoulders and short black hair. He wore a tailored suit and had a confident stride as he walked towards the door of the house next door. The sisters couldn't help but watch him as he disappeared inside, wondering who he could be. Little did they know he was about to change their lives forever. As the night wore on, the sisters couldn't shake the image of the mysterious man from their minds. They wondered who he was, what he did for a living, and most importantly, if he was single. Sophie found herself daydreaming about him as she went about her day. She imagined what it would be like to be swept off her feet by a man like him, to have him hold her close and whisper sweet nothings in her ear. Olivia, on the other hand, couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy as she thought about the possibility of Sophie finding true love. She longed for a love of her own, but she couldn't imagine a man like that ever being interested in her. Days turned into weeks, and the sisters found themselves becoming more and more obsessed with the man next door. They tried to catch glimpses of him whenever they could, but he seemed to be elusive. One day, Sophie decided to take matters into her own hands. She donned her best dress and walked over to the coffee shop next door, hoping to catch a glimpse of the man she had been dreaming about. As she walked in, she was greeted by the sound of gentle jazz music and the sweet aroma of freshly brewed coffee. The man she had been longing to see was sitting at a table in the corner, sipping on a latte. Sophie took a deep breath and walked over to him. "Excuse me," she said softly. "I couldn't help but notice you. My name is Sophie, and I was wondering if I could join you for a cup of coffee." The man looked up, and Sophie was struck by the intensity of his gaze. "Of course," he said with a smile. "My name is James." As they sat and chatted, Sophie found herself becoming more and more enchanted by James. He was kind, funny, and had a way of making her feel like she was the only woman in the world. 4. Meanwhile, Olivia had been watching from the window of their house, wondering where Sophie had gone. As she looked out, she caught a glimpse of James and felt her heart skip a beat. She had always had a crush on him, but she never had the courage to tell him. Seeing him now, with his arm around Sophie, made her feel jealous and left out. Olivia tried to push her feelings aside, knowing that her sister's happiness was more important than her own. But as the days went by, Olivia found herself thinking about James more and more. She couldn't stop wondering what it would be like to be with him, to feel his arms around her, to kiss him. One day, while Sophie was out on a date with James, Olivia decided to take a walk in the park. She needed some fresh air and some time to clear her head. As she walked, she came across a man sitting on a bench, sketching in a notebook. He was tall and lean, with messy brown hair and bright green eyes. "Nice sketch," Olivia said, walking over to him. The man looked up, and Olivia saw a flash of recognition in his eyes. "Olivia?" he asked, standing up. Olivia recognized him too. It was Ethan, a guy she had known in high school. They had never been close, but they had always been friendly. "Ethan, wow, I haven't seen you in years," Olivia said, smiling. "It's good to see you too," Ethan replied, grinning. They chatted for a while, catching up on old times. Ethan told Olivia about his career as an artist, and Olivia told him about her job as a nurse. As they talked, Olivia found herself feeling more and more comfortable around him. He was easy to talk to and had a kind, gentle spirit. Before she knew it, the sun was setting and Olivia had to go home. As she said goodbye to Ethan, she felt a pang of regret. She didn't want the night to end, and she didn't want to say goodbye to him. Over the next few weeks, Olivia and Ethan kept in touch, texting and calling each other regularly. They went on walks in the park, had coffee at the local cafe, and even went to a few art shows together. Olivia found herself falling for Ethan, and she knew that he felt the same way, but there was a problem. Sophie was still dating James, and Olivia didn't want to hurt her sister by getting involved with her crush. She tried to push her feelings for James aside and focus on Ethan, but it wasn't easy. She couldn't stop thinking about James, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was betraying her sister. One day, while Olivia was at work, she got a call from Sophie. Her sister was in tears, and Olivia could barely understand what she was saying. "What's wrong?" Olivia asked, her heart racing. "Something happened with James," Sophie sobbed. "I don't know what to do." Olivia left work immediately and rushed over to Sophie's apartment. When she got there, Sophie was sitting on the couch, her face red and puffy from crying. "What happened?" Olivia asked, sitting down beside her. Sophie took a deep breath and told Olivia what had happened. James had cheated on her with another woman, and Sophie had found out. She was heartbroken and didn't know what to do. Olivia felt a wave of anger wash over her. How could James do something like this to her sister? How could he betray her trust and hurt her like this? But as she looked at Sophie's tear-stained face, Olivia knew that she had to be strong for her sister.